There's a moment when everything finally breaks. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, inside your chest. You wake up one day and realize you can't pretend anymore. The plan stopped working. The motivation disappeared. And the version of you that used to push through is gone. You don't feel sad. You feel overwhelmed. Your mind keeps replaying the same thoughts. How did I end up here? What did I miss? Why does fixing my life feel impossible now? And the worst part, everyone else seems to be moving forward, while you're standing still, watching everything you built fall apart in slow motion. This is what rock bottom actually feels like. Not failure, not weakness, but the terrifying loss of control. And if you're here watching this, it means one part of you hasn't shut down yet. You want answers. You want a way out. But every option feels heavy. Every decision feels wrong. Every step feels like it could make things worse. So you freeze. And that's when the fear really sets in. Because deep down, you're not scared that things are bad. You're scared that this is permanent. Nothing is being asked of you yet. This isn't about motivation. It isn't about mindset. It's about stabilizing what's already breaking. Because rock bottom isn't the end of your life. It's a signal. And if you understand what it's trying to tell you, this moment can become the exact point where everything starts to change. In the next part, I'll show you why rock bottom feels so final and why that feeling is lying to you. Rock bottom feels final for a reason. Not because your life is actually over, but because your brain is acting like it is. When everything collapses at once, your nervous system goes into emergency mode. It stops thinking long-term. It stops trusting options. It stops believing in later. All it knows is, something is wrong, and I don't feel safe. So your mind starts doing what it does best under threat. It zooms in. It takes one bad situation and turns it into a permanent story. This will never change. I've ruined everything. There's no way back from this. But those thoughts aren't insight. They're symptoms. At rock bottom, your brain isn't trying to tell the truth. It's trying to protect you by convincing you to stop moving, to stop risking, to stop choosing. That's why even simple decisions feel impossible right now. Not because you're weak, but because your system is overloaded. And here's the part almost no one understands. Rock bottom doesn't mean you failed at life. It means the structure you were using to survive can no longer carry you forward. The habits you used to survive, the coping mechanisms that once kept you afloat, the identities you built, strong, capable, always pushing, they worked once, but now they're collapsing under new weight. That's why this feels so disorienting. You're standing in the gap between who you were and who you haven't become yet. And that gap feels like nothingness, like freefall. But it isn't emptiness. It doesn't feel like growth yet. But it's not nothing. It's transition. And this is where most people make their biggest mistake. They panic and try to rebuild everything at once. New goals, new mindset, new personality, new life. That urge is understandable. But it's exactly what keeps people stuck. Because you don't rebuild during collapse. You stabilize first. In the next part, I'm going to show you the first concrete step, the one that stops the downward spiral and gives you back a sense of control. If you're at rock bottom, the most dangerous instinct you have right now is the urge to fix everything, to plan your comeback, to redesign your life, to make this pain mean something immediately. That instinct feels responsible, but it's what breaks people. Because when your system is already overloaded, big plans don't motivate you. They crush you. So here's the first step, and it's going to sound wrong. Stop trying to fix your life. Not forever. Not because you've given up, but because this moment isn't about progress. It's about stabilization. You don't repair a building while the ground is still shaking. You don't map the future when your hands are shaking too. Right now, your only job is to stop the downward spiral. That means shrinking your world, Not in a dramatic way, in a practical one. For now, you don't need a 5-year plan. You don't need clarity. You don't need motivation. You need fewer decisions. Because every decision you make right now costs more energy than it should. So here's what stabilization actually looks like. You pick one day, not your life. You focus on one problem, not everything. You aim for neutral, not better. Not happy, not productive. Just stable. Enough to not slide further. Eating something simple. Resting when your body allows. Showing up just enough to stop the slide. That's not weakness. That's containment. And here's the relief most people don't expect. When you stop trying to fix everything, your mind finally stops panicking. Because panic comes from being asked to carry more than you can. Stabilization takes that weight off. And once the shaking slows, something important becomes visible. You can finally see what actually broke. In the next part, we're going to do exactly that. Identify the one thing that pushed you here. Not to judge it, not to relive it, but to take your power back from it. Once the chaos slows, something uncomfortable happens. The noise fades, and what's left is clarity. Not clarity about your whole life, but about one pressure you've been carrying for far too long. Here's the mistake most people make at this stage. They say, everything is wrong. My career, my relationships, my health, my confidence, my future. But everything is never the problem. Everything is what your mind says. When it doesn't want to look at the one thing, that actually hurts. Rock bottom is rarely caused by 10 failures. It's usually caused by one situation that finally exceeded your coping capacity. One decision you delayed. One boundary you didn't enforce. One situation you kept tolerating. Because facing it felt more dangerous than living with it. And I want to be very clear here. This is not about blame. You didn't avoid that truth because you were weak. You avoided it because at the time, it was the only structure you had to survive. But survival structures have an expiration date. And when they expire, they collapse all at once. That's what you're experiencing now. So here's the work of this step. And it's quieter than you expect. You don't analyze your entire past. You ask one question. What is the single thing I've been organizing my life around that no longer works? Not what hurts the most. Not what looks the worst from the outside. But what quietly drains you every time you think about tomorrow. When you identify that one thing, something shifts. The chaos becomes directional. The pain becomes specific. And for the first time, rock bottom stops feeling random. But here's the part most people miss. Seeing the problem doesn't mean you're ready to fix it yet. And forcing yourself to act too soon will destroy the progress you just made. Because before you confront the outside world, you have to rebuild trust with yourself. That's what the next step is about. By the time you hit rock bottom, you don't just lose hope. You lose trust in yourself. You stop trusting your decisions, your instincts, your ability to follow through. And that loss is deeper than fear. Because when you don't trust yourself, even good advice feels dangerous. That's why telling yourself to believe in yourself right now doesn't work. Belief is fragile. What you need isn't confidence. It's evidence. Evidence that you can still choose and keep that choice. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to rebuild self-trust by making big promises. I'll change everything. I'll never let this happen again. I'll become disciplined. And then they break those promises. Not because they don't care, but because the promises were too heavy for a nervous system that's still healing. Self-trust isn't rebuilt by intensity. It's rebuilt by consistency. Small, unimpressive, repeatable. Here's what that looks like. You pick one action so small, it feels almost pointless. Something you can do, even on a bad day. And you do it. At the same time, for a few days in a row. Something like drinking a glass of water when you wake up. or stepping outside for 1 minute at the same time each day. That's it. No optimization, no tracking, no self-improvement identity, just keeping a promise that only you know about. And something subtle happens when you do this. Your mind stops seeing you as a threat. It starts seeing you as someone who can be relied on again. That's when control returns. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to make the next decision without panic. Enough to move forward without collapsing. In the next part, we'll shift outward, because rebuilding yourself internally is only half the equation. Your environment is either supporting you or quietly pulling you back down. By now, you may have noticed something important. When you stop pushing yourself and start stabilizing, things get a little quieter. That's not because you're stronger. It's because pressure has shifted. And here's the truth most people learn too late. Willpower is weak. Environment is relentless. If your surroundings keep pulling you towards stress, distraction, or old patterns, your mind will follow, no matter how determined you are. That's why rock bottom isn't just internal. It's often reinforced by what's around you. The places you spend time, the people you keep explaining yourself to, the screens that never stop demanding attention. None of these are bad, but right now they're loud. So this step isn't about becoming disciplined. It's about reducing friction. You don't need a new personality. You need fewer triggers. That might mean creating one quiet space where you don't scroll, taking distance from conversations that leave you drained, changing when or where you think about your biggest stressor. Something as simple as leaving your phone in another room for 1 hour, or choosing one place where you never talk about your biggest problem. These aren't permanent decisions. They're temporary supports. Think of them as guardrails. They don't move the car for you. They just keep you from sliding off the road. And once your environment stops fighting you, something surprising happens. The small promises you made to yourself in the last step become easier to keep, not because you're trying harder, but because you're not being pulled backward every time you try to move forward. In the next part, we'll talk about the final step, the one that turns stability into direction. Not a destination, a direction. By this point, something important has changed. You may not feel good yet, but you're no longer drowning. You've slowed the fall. You've stabilized the ground. You've rebuilt a little trust in yourself. Now comes the step that decides what rock bottom becomes. Here's the mistake most people make here. They wait for clarity. They tell themselves, I'll move once I know what I want. I'll act once I'm sure. But certainty doesn't come before movement. It comes from movement. At rock bottom, asking for a destination is asking too much. So you don't need a 5-year plan. You don't need a calling. You don't need to know who you're becoming. You just need a direction. A direction is different. A direction is simple. It sounds like less chaos, more stability, less avoidance, more honesty, less surviving, more living. Choosing a direction means this. When you face a decision, you don't ask, is this the perfect choice? You ask, does this move me one step away from what pushed me here, and one step toward what supports me? That's it. No pressure. No identity shift. No grand reinvention. Just alignment. And here's the quiet power of this step. When you choose a direction, you stop looping. Even small movement breaks the paralysis. Even imperfect steps create momentum. And momentum restores breathing room. Not as an idea, but as something you can feel. In the final part, I want to talk to you about what rock bottom actually means in the long run. Because this moment isn't the end of your story. It's the reset. If you're still here, I want you to notice something. Nothing dramatic has changed. Your problems didn't disappear. Your life isn't suddenly fixed. But you're still here. And that matters more than it sounds. Because rock bottom doesn't end when everything improves. It ends when the free fall stops. And that's what you've done. You stabilized. You reduced the noise. You identified what pushed you here. You rebuilt a small amount of trust. You chose a direction, not a fantasy. That's not nothing. That's a reset. Rock bottom isn't where you're defeated. It's where illusions collapse. The illusion that you could keep carrying everything. The illusion that avoiding the truth was sustainable. The illusion that pushing harder would eventually fix it. What replaces those illusions isn't clarity yet. It's honesty. And honesty is lighter. From here, progress doesn't come from intensity. It comes from repetition. From keeping small promises. From protecting your environment. From choosing direction again tomorrow. And the day after that, quietly. And if right now all you can do is sit with this moment, that's okay. Nothing is being asked of you. Just remember this. Rock bottom didn't happen because you failed. It happened because something finally exceeded what you could carry alone. And now, you're rebuilding differently. One step at a time. If this helped you slow things down, you can save it and come back to it when things feel heavy again. And if you want more grounded conversations like this, you know where to find them. Take care of yourself. You're not done.